What's up, guys? Here with you with FC Wonderkid, episode 96. Here with my guy, Breton. How are you?
We are approaching the century mark, almost 100 episodes. I think we're going to have to do something special. I mean, That's what, April 12th or something? That's exactly when it'll be 100. We got to do something special. But before we get there, we got 97, 98, 99, and a whole lot of football in between.
Yes.
And my goodness, this past week, let's just say I'm doing a lot better than PSG fans.
A lot better. And episode 96, we're going to be talking about the Prem, the relegation battle, Chelsea, Man United draw, Casemiro sent off. Click in the link in bio and please watch episode 96 on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on YouTube. Like the video. So people, whoa, what was that Arsenal game? 3-0 win to Fulham by Arsenal. It was Arteta's 100th win for Arsenal, and Fulham away isn't an easy game to win. Balogun wasn't playing. Big shout out to that. Balogun is very missed, but still the 100th win of Mikel Arteta with the youngest team in the Premier League. That must be talked. So Arsenal is going bold this season, man. I gotta give that credit.
And the one old guy on the team, right? Leandro Trossard is the guy that actually gives a hat trick of assists. And I said it before, and I'll say it again. Leandro Trossard is a better winger right now than Mykhailo Mudryk. And the fact of the matter is, Arsenal, whether it was on accident, whether it just was too much, too fast, it is the best thing that has happened to them to not get sucked into that bidding war for Mudryk, because Leandro Trossard is built. He is turnkey. He knows how this Premier League operates. He has been good in this Premier League for Brighton, and my goodness, he has been absolutely lights out under Mikel Arteta. So like you said, it was him setting up Gabriel, it was him setting up Odegaard, it was him setting up Martinelli, and I got to give all the credit, or a good chunk of the credit on the day, to just phenomenal delivery from Leandro Trossard.
What a game it was. I have to agree with you, Bretson. A hat-trick of assists that was. But you really believe right now Trossard's better than Mudryk?
I mean, as a better player right now, yes, I do. Yeah, I mean, we're not talking about who has the highest ceiling, right? We're not talking about that at all. In terms of if Arteta wants to win this year and Arteta wants to try and win next year, Trossard is going to play more of a role than Mudryk likely is going to play in whatever revival Chelsea is undergoing right now in the 3 games they've won in the last 7 days. So Trossard is a better player right now than Mudryk. If we fast forward 3 years, it's very likely Mudryk will be the much better player. We all know that we can see his explosiveness. We can see the thoughts. We can see things starting to come together for Mudryk. I'm sure it'll get there at some point, but my goodness, Trossard has been like the right here, right now player that Arsenal needed at this moment in time. And Arsenal fans have got to be pretty happy. But I do have to say, you mentioned João Palhinha's absence. Well, you know, they didn't just get beaten, by Arsenal. They got the floor wiped with themselves by Arsenal. And the game before this, they got beat up by Ivan Toney and Brentford. Okay, so they've not lost one London rivalry. They've lost 2 London derbies in the last 2 weeks, and a lot of it's because João Palhinha is not there to assert his dominance on this midfield. And you know, he's still leading. Palhinha is still leading the Premier League in tackles won, and he's missed the last 2 games.
So understandable, those Liverpool rumors for João Palhinha. He gives guarantees for any top 6 team in the Premier League of his impact. And that's what Trossard did. I completely agree with that point. And Arsenal, the players that make Arsenal tick: Thomas Partey against Fulham, William Saliba, an astonishing game from the 21-year-old centre-back, and Martin Odegaard, the leader on the field, of Arsenal, that is always in the right place at the right time. And this is a bold stat. So bold that Arsenal are the only team Arsenal are the only team next to PSG with 3 players with more than 10 league goals.
There it is.
Saka, Odegaard, and Martinelli are next to the names of Neymar, Mbappe, and Messi this season. Only these 3 have more than 10 league goals. That is so bold.
There you go.
And I'm going to say this. Martinelli Martinelli is key for Arsenal to win the Premier League this season. He's got 12 goals and 2 assists, and he's played every single game for Arsenal in the Premier League. Absolutely crucial and vital, and with no injuries, Martinelli can be talked as a world-class player because he's absolutely needed for this title challenge. So big shout out to Martinelli.
Yeah, and I'll give you that. And more importantly, I have a quiz. I have a little question for you, okay? So out of the 32 or so goals that this trio has scored, right? Martinelli, Saka, and Odegaard, who just hit that double-digit mark.
Yes.
How many penalties? How many penalties are we talking about?
I'd say 2.
That's right.
Ah!
That's right.
Yes.
Ding, ding, ding. You win nothing. You win absolutely nothing but, a nice little smile from me. Yes, 30-plus goals, only two penalties are represented in that total. Okay, Haaland, in comparison, has 5, but he's also scored more than most Premier League teams. So we'll give him 5 penalties, right? But yeah, 2 penalties amidst those 3. And on top of that, by the end of the season, yes, we have to count Trossard's numbers at Brighton previous to coming over, but there's a good chance you're going to see 3 Arsenal players with double-digit assist totals as well between Odegaard, Saka, and likely Trossard in the very near future. So just amazing stuff from Arsenal, especially considering they did not play their best at Sporting, and they still got that result in the end. And, that was a big deal. That was a big deal for them because they were not playing well on that day. And they were not playing well.
2-2. It's going to be a very interesting game back in London. Ugarte will be back. Ugarte, please, Arsenal fans, pay attention to him. He didn't play the first match against Sporting, but the second match in London, Ugarte will be present. No Morita, no Kovac. So Ugarte will defensively turn up big time if Sporting are going to surprise the world.
That's true.
And I'm going to say, too, Arsenal are 5 points clear this season, and they are the main contenders to win the Premier League, and it's all dependent on the match against Man City. If they beat Man City, everybody will consider them title contenders. So put down below in the comment section your thoughts. Will Arsenal win the league? And yeah, I want to see those comments, man. And we mentioned Palhinha, and Palhinha has been non-stop in the reports to go where? To go to Liverpool, a team that lost 1-0 to Bournemouth, people, okay? The team that's fighting for relegation beats the team that won 7-0 against Man United the last weekend.
Yeah.
It makes no sense, and Liverpool are so dependent on signing midfielders. Bring on Jude Bellingham and bring on Palhinha, 2 top signings. But I'm just going to say this. For 60 million, is Palhinha worth it for Liverpool, Breton?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I mean, obviously, he's going to have to keep his discipline in check.
But 27.
But then again, 27, you could get a good 5 years out of him. I think 60 million is a going rate for who is already, again, turnkey. He's somebody that has already shown that he can essentially help Fulham outperform. They're going through a rough patch right now, and it's not surprising because guess who's not on the pitch? So yeah, no, I see that. But before they even start going after guys as good as João Palhinha, they should probably look at maybe signing up, 26-year-old Philip Billing, because apparently that guy manhandles the midfield at Bournemouth, and manhandles Liverpool's midfield more than anyone else in this team. I mean, Bournemouth needed the win. And we'll talk about the relegation battle in a little bit, but my goodness, did it get turned upside down and tightened at the screws this week. And it's going to be a hell of a ride the rest of the way. But Liverpool, Jekyll meet Hyde. What the heck is happening? I did not have on my bingo card them handing Manchester United their worst loss ever, and then in turn losing to literally, I believe at that point in time, they were dead last or close to dead last in the league. How does this happen? And Salah, I don't even think, I believe that penalty is still orbiting Earth.
That penalty was so bad for Mo Salah. And it's these moments, the clutch moments. Tottenham got 3 points, the top 4 race. People point fingers because of this to Mo Salah. But the truth is still, Mo Salah holds the record of most goals scored in a Premier League season. Okay, but
true.
I completely agree. These are the moments. And against Bournemouth, he was needed. Darwin Núñez, come on. Where are the goals? But I see a ton of news, the Palhinha Liverpool. But if I was Liverpool, I'd get Florentino Luis. Palhinha is 27, Florentino Luis is 23, and in the Champions League is going bold. I've said it. Roberto Martinez, please call him up for the Portuguese national team. And again, in the Champions League, one of the best defensive mids in the competition, Florentino Luis. So I would get him if I was Liverpool.
It's a very solid signing. I think also now, just based on some bizarre fixtures this year. I mean, at what point are we also extending the needs for Liverpool to a center back pairing, to other center backs? You know, Van Dijk has not been his best, obviously. Joel Matip, who the heck knows where he's been? Joe Gomez, not so good, has had a good appearance, I guess, here and there. Ibrahima Konate, the exact same way. Everybody's been inconsistent in this Liverpool defense. So I don't know if there's supposed to be a reimagining or how long that would take, but there is no Todd Bowley coming in to offer the chance to buy 25, 26 new players. So it is going to have to be calculated, and I think you're absolutely right. It still remains that midfielder needs to be sorted out, and if it's not Palhinha, it needs to be Florentino Luis. And if it can't be, maybe if you can get both of them, who the heck cares? Because if I'm a Liverpool fan, you go from such a resounding win to being overly depressed again. I don't understand it. And now what's staring you down in the face is a ridiculous opportunity to potentially remontada the crap out of Real Madrid the same way they did to other teams last year in their run to the Champions League win. But nobody after that Bournemouth loss can go into that feeling any sort of optimism, I guess, or confidence in any way, shape, or form. I just don't know how this is happening, and I think Jurgen Klopp is at a tipping point for sure.
I think Klopp will stay more seasons for Liverpool.
Yeah,
I think this summer they just need to get that center back sorted. I completely agree. And if I was Liverpool, I'd get Florentino Luis or Palhinha, but Palhinha's older, and Jude Bellingham. Please, come on. That has to be the focus of Liverpool, because those two would bring them top Premier League contention. So I wanted to say that. And you mentioned Todd Boehly. Todd Boehly did the signing. And I was saying to you, the most expensive signing in the Premier League had a reason to be. And Enzo Fernandez sees everything on the pitch. I completely agree with Graham Potter. And he will be one of the best midfielders in the Premier League in the next 5 years. The impact he's having for Chelsea, I'm going to say right now, for me, João Felix and Enzo Fernandez are the most exciting players to watch at Chelsea. And you can see that they improve massively the team going forward. Finishing will improve for João Felix, but the impact, he's now involved in everything. And Enzo anticipates. He's so good. Kovacic has brought the Enzo that we all knew watching him at Benfica and for Argentina too. World-class player. I'll say that.
And even with Mudrik's, finally getting on the board and getting that assist across to Kovacic right into his path, I believe Enzo was the one that delivered that pass as well. So, no, I'm with you. That by far was the best match he's had in a Chelsea shirt. And I would even, you said 5 years, I would even kind of truncate that. I would say in the next year or two, he's going to be one of the most dominant midfielders in the Premier League. I think building around Enzo makes a whole lot of sense, and I don't think there's a whole lot of people out there that's going to disagree with that. And I also once again, to agree with you. What the heck is this podcast if all I do is agree with you? But João Felix, even though the goals have not been pouring in, I mean, you could see there's a little bit of luck, a little bit of mistiming, a little bit whatever, but the ideas, everything from the idea perspective, he makes people better on the pitch by being on that pitch. And that's not a Portuguese bias. That's not coming from somebody that has a Portuguese background here. João Felix, you can see the ideas. You can see the interplay. You can see he is smart, very smart off the ball, and obviously very tidy with the ball. Between Enzo and Felix, I 100% agree that they are the ones with the better ideas across the board. And they're making Kai Havertz either put up or shut up. Because Kai Havertz is getting open looks and he's not quite putting them away, but okay, he has scored a few goals here and there. So listen, 3 wins in 7 days, that's got to give you a whole lot of, optimism, maybe not in the short term, but definitely in the long term. But I have to say this. I got to say this, Alex. You ready?
Yes.
You ready? The previous 2 times that Chelsea have won the Champions League, okay? The previous 2 times have come when they have had very, very subpar domestic seasons in the Premier League. Okay? So back, I believe it was, I'm going to get this wrong. Let's see. Well, 2020, 2021, they ended up, I believe, finishing 4th maybe in the Premier League, which would be great. I think every Chelsea fan out there would agree that 4th this season would be great. They wound up finishing 4th, and they ended up winning the Champions League under Tuchel. Okay? Now, go all the way back to 2011, 2012, Antonio Conte. They finished, you ready for this? 10th in the Premier League, and they won the Champions League that season.
Di Matteo.
They came out. Was that Di Matteo, not Conte? I'm sorry.
Di Matteo, people. And Di Matteo was a manager that didn't end up winning anything afterwards. Yeah. So that's what makes it so bold. And Thomas Tuchel won the Champions League with Chelsea 3 months in. 3 months in, I think. I'm not sure on that. But it was very short-term impact. Rudiger was massively better with Tuchel with that team. But I'm going to say this, man. Graham Potter, with these 3 wins in 7 days, have saved his job this season. The Champions League fight is real, and Enzo Fernandez, no doubt in my mind, with Mudryk and João Felix will be the top players by the end of the season. And huge shout, Chelsea plays different, but Ben Chilwell is back, and Reece James, if he's on the right too. If these 2 fullbacks are playing, Chelsea have no doubt one of the best duos of fullbacks in the world, and they're both English. Ben Chilwell and Reece James. So they have a ton of options for the future. Malo Gusto too, even coming in the future. So next season, Chelsea with fullbacks, Ben Chilwell, Cucurella, Reece James, Malo Gusto. It's unreal the amount of options they have. And let's see, Mudryk. Hey, Pulisic, will he stay? There's so much to talk. But a player that for sure I believe right now will not stay at Chelsea, it's Mason Mount, people. I really believe he's going to leave. I don't see him involved with this Graham Potter new tactics. And in the scheme of things, and I see a ton of news of Liverpool, United, and Newcastle. And I could see him moving towards one of these 3 teams. I could see
Newcastle. I like that.
Newcastle would be really interesting. Bruno Guimaraes, Mason Mount. 1 step back to go 2 steps forward. Champions League ball in the future. Mason Mount thinking. That would be hella bold.
If Alexander Isak can look like he did over the weekend for them,
and
Newcastle's going to be tough.
11 goals and 2 assists, Newcastle. Miguel Almiron.
In one season, he has scored more than he scored in the 4 previous seasons, Miguel Almiron. I mean, it's just a wonderful story. But more importantly, Newcastle had gone through a tough run of form.
True.
They were not good. They were not good for a while, and they had trouble scoring. They had the Carabao Cup final loss on their backs. That probably weighed them down a bit, but that win was absolutely vital over the weekend for Eddie Howe and Newcastle. But back to Chelsea for a second, because do not fret, Chelsea fans. This momentum could actually continue on for some time. I mean, we're looking at Everton. We're looking at Aston Villa. We're looking at Wolves and a showdown with the Jekyll and Hyde that is Liverpool. as your next 4 fixtures, and you are through to the quarterfinals when it comes down to it, beating Borussia Dortmund. So you have the skin in the game in the Champions League as well. But this is one of those seasons where 4th is not that far off. Champions League football is not that far off because everything has been so. I agree with you, but let me finish because everything is so tight. I mean, Manchester United kind of missing out on their opportunity, right? Especially over the weekend. We'll talk about that next. But everything is still so tight. And Chelsea, if they make a good run of it, if this is not some flash in the pan type 3 wins in the last 7 days, if they can replicate this and start to learn about each other heading into the end of this year, I mean, they might be able to end this year on some really positive momentum and with a far run in the Champions League. They honestly could.
If Chelsea gets Benfica, I think Benfica beats Chelsea. Enzo Fernandez, vengeance from Benfica, Gonçalo Ramos, Grimaldo, Florentino Luiz, Antonio Silva, all performing at their elite level, in my opinion, and it would be very interesting to watch. Even João Felix coming back to the luge. What a game it would be. Unreal levels. But
it would be huge.
Chelsea, I think it's going to be always a negative season, this one. Has to be a 0 season, because Graham Potter, I agree with you in the past, saying Graham Potter couldn't manage all these new signings. No manager could do this easily. And a manager with his level of past is very hard to deal with this. So I agree that Graham Potter getting a top 6 and going far in the Champions League, it's a good enough season with what has happened at Chelsea, in my opinion. So, but it's
but I mean, like I said last podcast, okay, it's one of those things where you have enough Chelsea fans that are so adamant that either Potter is the guy or Potter is not the guy. That it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't type of scenario. I mean, winning 3 is absolutely phenomenal, but that also means Graham Potter's sticking around. Todd Bowley's not getting rid of him the more he wins. And you should kind of want that. But if ultimately you don't believe that Graham Potter's going to take you beyond a certain ceiling, then ultimately I can see being pretty conflicted as a Chelsea fan right now. But I guess we're going to find out pretty quickly because 3 wins in 7 days, if you're following the Liverpool rule of thumb here, that means you're going to lose, I don't know, like 4-1 to Everton or something in the next fixture. But no, it is good to see Chelsea pep up some. Obviously, they have not been playing their best because they don't know each other for the most part. And I think the best is ahead of them. It's just true. whether or not you feel it really does all come down to this draw. Right, this week's Champions League fixtures, and then who they're drawn against. If this could become another storybook run to a Champions League final, or whether or not it just fizzles out in the next round at the Estadio da Luz or something.
And the Chelsea development ending with it. To Chelsea development now, you have Benoit Badiashile, Wesley Fofana, Reece James, Enzo Fernandez, Mikhailo Mudryk, Fofana, the young striker, Armand Broja. You got a ton of youth to invest in the future. So it's just the start at Chelsea. Gotta believe in the future with Coben too. But Man City, just changing things. We mentioned Arsenal, and Arsenal are 5 points clear, but Man City won't do things easily for Arsenal.
No, sir.
Erling Haaland has 28 goals scored in the Premier League. He will become the all-time leading goal scorer in one season in the Prem. And we're saying this, and we're in March. Insane how fast he's adapted to this new league, and he's a generational talent. It's facts. Everyone that hates Erling Haaland, just like Ronaldo, man, it's villain vibes with Erling Haaland too. He is massively important, so he's gonna win the league. If not this season, the next season definitely. I'm gonna say that Erling Haaland.
But come on, man. Let's be honest. If we actually have to look at it, on surface level, between Cristiano Ronaldo and Erling Haaland, who looks like more a villain to you? An actual villain. I mean, honestly, he looks like an anime villain. Erling Haaland, he's got the tight hair, he's got the physique. He's just otherworldly in what he does. But I'm going to be honest with you. He was He was virtually non-existent that whole match until he got that penalty.
Exactly.
But it doesn't matter. I mean, he's got 23 non-penalty goals, 5 penalty goals. You're talking 28 goals. I agree with you. He's probably going to pass this thing, or else Manchester City's going to fizzle out. But let's be honest. Okay, yes, people do care about the Premier League. Yes, Manchester City, though, they've been there, done that. All eyes are on RB Leipzig midweek, correct? And I have to ask you, and I know we're going to talk about Champions League in a little bit, but is there any way in your mind that they bottle this, that Manchester City bottles this and they lose to Leipzig in this round?
They can't. If this happens, with the past experience of Erling Haaland in the Bundesliga too, people are just going to hate so much. And Guardiola is there for one reason only, Champions League. And with the amount of money in that squad, I cannot see that happening. Man City, I think, will go through with RB Leipzig. But Joshko Gvardiol, go bold and make what I'm saying wrong, please. Or in Kunku.
My goodness.
That would be such a wonderful spectacle, too. Oh,
and that's the thing, is that they know him. I mean, the core of RB Leipzig knows him.
That's true.
And Timo Werner, I just, I'm going to say this sheepishly, but just watch out. For some reason, I just have a feeling Timo Werner is going to show up this week in this second leg. Now, I still think Manchester City will move on. I don't see any way, but I think Leipzig is going to give them more of a battle because they've been one of the more informed teams in 2023. You've got Nkunku. I don't know if he's actually going to be fully healthy for this. You've got Soboslai, who's been doing phenomenally well. Timo Werner's been scoring goals. Forsberg is back. There's just a lot of good things to like. But I honestly, Manchester City, you're absolutely right. They have to do this, and they can't do what Antonio Conte's Spurs did midweek.
That's a good one.
Wow.
That's a good one. AC Milan went bold and secured with a 1-0 in both aggregates with both games too. But I just want to say on my end, ending with Man City, huge shout out to a player that I consider one of the best players in his position in the world. That is Rodri. Rodri, long term, his signing from the Pep Guardiola era will be remembered because he replaced Fernandinho, that was key. And right now, Rodri is crucial to Man City's tactics. And I'm going to say one of the best defensive mids in the Premier League era, in my opinion, when he ends up to blaze up his boots. He's that important because if Rodri leaves Man City, I can't see players replacing him. And then no Spanish too. Something that Pep Guardiola must love. Yeah. So I wanted to give that shout because Rodri deserves a lot more credit.
Yeah, and there you go. Atletico Madrid. Rodri, it amazes me because he's been around seemingly for so long, but not really. He's only been in the Premier League for 3 seasons?
Exactly.
3 full seasons, I believe. And he's just been so dominant. And once again, you would expect there to be, yes, you're playing Pep style ball, right? You're playing Pep ball. But when it comes down to it, Rodri has been at the tippy top of literally every analytic for defensive midfielders in the Premier League since he's gotten here. And that 70 million was just money well spent. And then you look at it and you're like, the guy's only 26 years old. He's going to be doing this a long time. It's just whether or not he's going to continue to do it for City.
And Rodri is so consistent, and you see Casemiro that is being world-class for Man United, but he gets 2 straight red cards, which he will miss 8 games with all that. Rodri is massively consistent, but if I had to pick between Rodri and Casemiro, I go Casemiro, being fair. But Rodri's still, massively important. Massively important.
Yeah. He absolutely is, and he filled in at center back. He's been able to do whatever Pep asks of him amidst this. Yeah, and for Spain too, right? I guess that's what I was thinking about. Yeah, him filling in at center back. Just at the World Cup. Yeah, just something, but whatever. But so casual.
But I mentioned that about Casemiro. It's actually mad that Casemiro, before he had come to the Premier League, he had never gotten a straight red card, and now this season, 2 straight red cards in the Premier League. Man United are going to miss him so much. so much.
I guess that's what the Premier League does to you, right? Brings out the dog in you or something, because my goodness. And I do have to say, this particular one, though, seems soft. And I would be incredibly surprised if Ten Hag didn't right away shoot an appeal to see if they could get him back sooner. But yes, to miss 8 full games, I mean, that's not good. That's not what you want, especially considering when he does play, he has become obviously the most important player for Manchester United when all is said and done. But my goodness, I don't know what to say beyond that, except this one was soft. The first one, not so much. This one, soft as hell.
And I want to say, this season, Erik ten Hag with Man United, it's a successful season, getting a trophy with the Carabao Cup, ending up top 4, having a Europa League run, and so many of the signings already showing great positive signs, like Gazmino, Anthony improving, like Sabitzer was even, Weghorst was even, they were all right. So a lot of right moves done by Man United and Erik ten Hag this season. And 0-0, that was a tough 0-0 match for Man United and Tottenham. Tottenham now, I want to mention it just so I don't forget. 3-1 win against Nottingham Forest. But I'm going to say this. I still don't believe Tottenham will end up in the top 4. Antonio Conte, it's the locker room. It's looking fishy. It's looking fishy.
It's tough. It's tough. And everything is outweighing the fact that Harry Kane already has 20 goals. 20 goals in the Premier League this season, right? It's just absolutely immense. You know, it's the consistency that has come from this man. So I just don't understand how you can the same way, you know, United disappointed. United kicking the crap out of Real Betis, right, in order to essentially get back at essentially themselves for that 7-0 loss, right? And then they follow it up with Gavin Bazunu had himself a little bit of a minor masterclass against them, keeping them out of net to get that draw. But then Spurs does like the reverse, right? They have possibly the most languid, I don't know if that's the right word. They have it was such a blah loss for Spurs, right, in the Champions League, to like go out looking as if you didn't even want to play in the first place. And then you come back and, you thump up on Nottingham Forest. Kane gets 2 goals, and I think Son even chipped one in. But yeah, this Antonio Conte team is another version of one of these bigger teams in the Premier League going Jekyll and Hyde on their fans this season.
True.
There's no consistency, and it's really incredibly hard to keep up with as it stands. So I don't know. I mean, what you really don't think that they're going to wind up top 4 right now? If you don't think they're going to wind up top 4, who is your top 4 as it stands? Past Arsenal, past City, you're talking
United 3, and I still gonna put or Liverpool or Newcastle. I think
United 3.
Yes.
After 0 goals in 2 games and 7 conceded.
I'm gonna put United 3rd in the Premier League for me. I'm going to put first place, in my opinion, in the Premier League will be Arsenal. Second, I think City. Third, Man United. But it's all eyes on that Arsenal-Man City game. Because, that's key. Because that can change. If Man City beat Arsenal, I can put Man City first and second. But just like we're mentioning here, like the top 3 race, because it's but 16 points separate Arsenal from Man United right now, and that must be talked Arteta masterclass. But the relegation battle, oh my days! Who are the top 3 teams you think might be relegated? Because Bournemouth would be on one of my teams, but I'm gonna say Leeds. Leeds are not looking good. They've sacked Jesse Marsch, and the players, I don't see tactics. I think Leeds will get relegated.
I have confidence that they will play enough proactive football that they will be able. And they have an incredibly important couple fixtures coming up. I believe they have Nottingham Forest, and I think they have Southampton as well, or something like that, where you can actually maybe get some daylight here. But I mean, Leicester City is back to being a relegation team, because I think they've lost four in a row now in the league. And you're talking about, let's see, 12th place is Crystal Palace, right? Mm-hmm. Crystal Palace has 27 points, and you're talking last place, Southampton has 22. So there are 3 points separating 12th and 18th. And I honestly don't know in here, right? I think Southampton still goes down. One. Okay. And then I am gonna say I'm gonna say
Leeds, definitely.
I'm gonna say Forest.
Oh, Nottingham
Still gonna say Forest.
I believe in Scarpa and those signings, man. I think Forest might stay. I think Leeds are going to go down. Yep. And look, this team, I think, needs to learn. And I know West Ham have an elite squad, but why is David Moyes still the manager? Why is David Moyes still coaching West Ham? For that reason, I think West Ham are definitely in the contention for the relegation next to Leeds. I think those two teams will get relegated. I'm going to say that.
They have scored 24 goals this season. Like, it is just dried up. They spent how much on Scamacca, and they've gotten nothing out of him. In fact, Moyes doesn't even want to play him anymore, basically. Jared Bowen is a shade of himself, although he's looked minorly better. Antonio apparently saves all of his goals for the Conference League instead of the Premier League. I mean, I don't understand it, because West Ham was poised to take a step up, not a step down, not a massive step down, and there is no way to sugarcoat it. I agree with you. I mean, you're looking at past results right now, but I'm just looking at it like Forest hasn't won in 5+. So I'm going to say, Forest, I think Southampton, and sadly, I do think, even though I love Dango Ouattara and what he has provided Bournemouth, and even though they're still in the relegation zone after beating Liverpool, massive win, I do think it's going to be Bournemouth, Southampton, and Nottingham Forest that go down.
Oof, Bournemouth leads West Ham right now. West Ham is a bold mention, but put down below, people, who do you think will be relegated, man? I don't trust David Moyes. And tell me what you guys think.
But one more thing there. At what point are we kind of, I don't know, ringing the alarm bells for Patrick Vieira and Crystal Palace?
I know he still does three games in a row without shots target, but I think there's a bigger problem for all this. Who's the best player of Crystal Palace? It's Wilfried Zaha, and he's with a 6 months contract right now. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, and the team, I think they're just not happy. You can see the environment. Even Olise is committing mistakes that you wouldn't see Olise doing a month or 2 months ago. So I think there must be a lot of background talk at Crystal Palace environment that we don't see in the front. So that would be my mention with Crystal Palace.
They started out so well too.
And they have a lot of quality players for the future too. I believe that Crystal Palace for the future, I think they're going to make good decisions long term too. And of all teams of the 12th to the 18th, I think the team in the second half of the Premier League season, the team that will go up the most is Everton. I love that Sean Dyche appointment, and I really believe long-term Sean Dyche will be a great manager for Everton because he understands the culture of that role at Everton. And they've wasted so much money with transfers. And with Sean Dyche, that knows how to be a cheap spender with Burnley at the past, I think he'll do a good job. So tell us down below.
Did you see that Anthony Gordon interview?
I saw that he wasn't treated with respect. I think it was about that. Well, I didn't understand that because Anthony Gordon, you're not Mbappe. Mbappe, well, what a World Cup. You know, I was expecting being grateful of saving Everton. You know,
my sentiment exactly. It came across as misplaced and maybe a little over confident.
Yeah,
if you will. But anyway, it's not like he's lighting up the stage with Newcastle right now. But yeah, what I'm saying is your theory right now about Everton, maybe sparking something is going to be put to the test because I believe they have Chelsea next.
And you're mentioning Gordon. I want to ask you this. Who do you think will get Declan Rice? Because Declan Rice is massively important for West Ham.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably going to be one of the big five. Right. But I honestly, I don't know. I don't have a preference right now. I mean, obviously he wants Chelsea, but
Mason Mount's leaving, so Declan Rice mustn't be happy about that. I think Arsenal would be the team that would give most guarantees for Declan Rice. Arsenal that wanted Moises Caicedo, and now Moises Caicedo got an extension. So Partey and Declan Rice, that'd be pretty special.
But the funny thing is, the first team that came to my head right, was actually where we think Mason Mount should go. I believe Declan Rice at Newcastle could work out nicely because Bruno and Declan don't play the exact same role. They have a lot of similarities, but they could actually complement. Imagine them running that midfield for Newcastle.
Man, spend the big bucks, Newcastle, for Mason Mount and Declan Rice. Imagine if it was Mason Mount, Declan Rice, and Bruno Guimaraes.
Yeah, bring Pulisic in too, and I'm happy. I'm a Newcastle fan next season, maybe. No,
with Isaac, Trippier, Botman, Pope, that'd be a pretty special team. That'd be a pretty special team.
It's about time with Isaac, though. I still remember the days of him with Real Sociedad, with Martin Odegaard. That was one heck of a team that went on quite a run. But yeah, since then, not so much.
But let's see. Tell us down below the relegation team you think will go down in the YouTube comment section. We mentioned this team briefly when we mentioned Tottenham, and we're mentioning good management with Newcastle. I'm going to say AC Milan went through in the Champions League, and big credit to Maldini for the great decision-making he has on the top. The defense of AC Milan has cost him 72 million with Mike Maignan, Theo Hernandez, Kalulu, Malik Dia, and Tomori. All great signings, and what a bargain it was for Kalulu. Mike Maignan, come back from injury. You are so needed. And Tomori, please just get selected every time for England. It doesn't make any sense the disrespect that Tomori gets. Man of the match too in the Champions League. No surprise. Southgate, you know what you got to do.
Yeah, and we have to remember there was always going to be a falling off of how good they really were. Tomori, Kalulu, how good they were for AC Milan last season, especially in that final stretch. But my goodness, I don't think any Rossoneri fan was ready for how atrociously they started 2023. But they have since righted the ship, and I think, believe it or not, getting to the quarterfinals of the Champions League is a big deal for AC Milan, right? To be back there. And I think they could wind up, I mean, we'll see who they get next. But they have because Maignan is rounding back into form. Tomori's rounding back into form. You already mentioned Malik Thiaw and what he's been doing. Theo, I mean, they have the pieces. They have not, I believe, played their best at all in 2022-2023. And let's be honest, the race for the Scudetto is over. It's all about Champions League spots and Champions League, and that's it.
It's true. And next season, AC Milan desperately need a striker. Okay, they need Rafael Leão to stay. Tonali an extension would be good. Tomori extension just to have more guarantees long term. Theo extension would be a dream, and a striker like Jonathan David. Or even Balogun. Balogun for me would be a great shout. Balogun that has 16 goals scored in the league and will still at 30. He's 19 league games unbeaten. He's doing magic, the motivation, the coaching. He is an exceptional young manager. Nagelsmann vibes with him, man. Unbelievable what he's doing.
It's great. And the way he picks up languages, it's really, really impressive. The way he switches from French to, I mean, he's all over the place, and it's wonderful to see. Although he is costing his team multiple millions of dollars in this season every time he takes the pitch as the coach. I believe, what did we say? It was like 25,000.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. But listen, their league run, right? Stade de Reims, their league run led by Folarin Balogun, right? With 16 goals, as you just mentioned. Their league run is now up to 19 unbeaten. And it wasn't just them winning, right? It was them beating AS Monaco. Okay, so they beat Monaco. Okay, 1-0. Folarin Balogun had the goal, and I gotta say this before I forget it. Balogun, if you count him as an Englishman, which he absolutely is, I think right now, based on the youth teams that he's played for. Although we're gonna go like this in hopes that he becomes a U.S. men's national team player in the very near future. But Balogun, you ready for this? He needs just 2 goals to become the highest scoring Englishman of all time in Ligue 1 history. And that person, I believe, is Glenn Hoddle. Okay, way back in the day, Glenn Hoddle with 18 goals.
Join the U.S. men's national team, Balogun. Become the number one ever American to do that. Like
it's true, but to think about that, okay, I get it. Like the list of Englishmen that have gone over to play in Ligue 1, right? It's not exactly humongous, right?
True.
But when it comes down to it, for him still to be setting this record, for him to be relatively consistent as he's been, considering I think he accounts for and has been involved in like 65 to 75% of Stade de Reims' goals this season, right? They are not firepower friendly, okay? This is a team that's built on good defense and obviously good coaching, good tactics, because clearly they've been getting the results that they've needed, and at worst they grind out a draw. But yeah, Balogun is ready for the next step. AC Milan seems like a pretty big step up, but I don't know. I mean, I have no clue, because we look at the Napoli team and how that was pieced together. You're taking, Kvaratskhelia from Dinamo Batumi. You're taking Min Jae Kim, right, from the Turkish Super League. You're taking all of these people. So yeah, you can take Balogun from Stade de Reims, and you don't have to pay 70 million, and you might get 15, 20 goals out of him in a Scudetto race. But yeah, Jonathan David, you mentioned him earlier, and you do have to. He had a hat trick? Yeah, he had a hat trick, right? 2 goals. I know 2 were penalties, but 3 goals that puts him as the leader in the Ligue 1 Golden Boot race. He's got 19 goals this season, and he's only 23 years old.
Oh,
only 23 years old.
Canadian too. Oh my days.
Canadian.
Oh, Balogun picking the U.S. maybe in the future, and Jonathan David with Canada. North America are going so bold in Liga.
I want to say it. I got to say it, because I don't know why I just put this together. Bayern Munich's looking for a striker, right? I know they signed Choupo-Moting to a well-deserved 1-year extension. But listen, go get Jonathan David. Go get Jonathan David.
And if they can't get Kane too, Jonathan David is younger, but I think the youngest best striker would be Gonçalo Ramos. Just gonna set that, because Gonçalo Ramos, in my opinion, should start for the Portuguese national team in the next selection. Gonçalo Ramos scoring 2 goals and 1 assist against Club Brugge. Now, people, don't have doubts. He is coming for the biggest numbers in the world of football, Gonçalo Ramos. I am so bullish on him. And you mentioned Napoli. Kvaratskhelia has 11 goals and 11 assists in 22 games in Serie A. I'm going to say the most exciting winger I've ever seen in Serie A. He's wonderful to watch. And he replaced Mertens and Insigne to win now Napoli's first Serie A Scudetto after 30 years. Those are the levels of Kvaratskhelia, or Kvaradona for many other people. So I wanted to say that. And shout out to Artur Cabral. He's got good striker at Fiorentina with 32 games and 11 goals and 1 assist. Good player. Good player to watch.
They're a sneaky conference league. They've got potential if Artur Cabral continues to score goals the way he's been scoring them. But no, back to Napoli. I have to say this because I know it seems a little bit like I'm a Holland hater these days or whatever, but there is no doubt in my mind that Napoli, Ivica Kvaratskhelia, Victor Osimhen, they are the best story in club football right now. Okay. I don't care about 28 goals in the Premier League the way I care about how this team has been put together. It is insanely impressive. I mean, you have to remember the only major acquisition here, the only major acquisition for Napoli was Osimhen. And that happened a couple seasons ago for 70 million euros, right? And that was kind of a risk that was taken by Napoli because they haven't spent much since then. But you're talking about Min Jae Kim, who's arguably been the best center back in Serie A this season. They got him for 18 million from Fenerbahce. They got Matias Oliveira for 16 million from Getafe, who is perennially a relegation battler in La Liga. They got Frank Anguissa from relegated Fulham. I know he was on loan previously, but they got him for a cut rate 16. If they were to turn them around right now, you could literally sell off those 4 players, Kvaradona, Osimhen, Min Jae Kim, Oliveira, Anguissa. That's 5 players. You could sell them off for what? 250 million? 200 million? Easily? I mean, it's absolutely unreal. And I just have to say, if you want a a crash course in how to assemble a team and not a collection, just look at Spalletti's Napoli. Okay. And even guys like Raspadori and Simeone coming in for attacking depth.
True.
These guys have scored goals in Serie A before. Raspadori, I think, was at Sassuolo before. Simeone has been kind of all over the place, Verona or wherever. And they have scored wherever they've gone. They got him in on loan for attacking depth. And it's just Romani from Verona. I mean, there's so many names that you could put together. These guys are the best story in club football at the moment, for sure.
I love it. I love how you mentioned all these geniuses because, yes, Napoli, what they're doing, they must have geniuses. And in the group, you mentioned the unity. That's what Napoli does with their management. Something very different from another team that is PSG. This has been the worst season of PSG. Why? Because of all the money invested. In that game of PSG against Bayern Munich, Sergio Ramos and Mbappe were the two players that would never stop. And Verratti's interception, world class at all times, Verratti, I want to say that. The people that criticize Verratti do not know football and seriously don't watch football the way it should be seen. Because Verratti is instrumental for PSG. And it's crazy he never played Serie A football. He went straight from Pescara Serie B to PSG. But I'm going to say Messi, okay, and with Barca and PSG, Messi has 843 games, 701 goals, and 300 assists now. Elite stats, but still never went to the semifinals with PSG. That's what people wanted to see. And that's why people will point fingers at his time at PSG, Messi. But he won the World Cup in all this. He won the World Cup with Argentina, so he's going to win the Ballon d'Or too.
You said it's the worst season in a while, right, for PSG, and I'm gonna say like if there's worse than worst, it's it right now because not only is Messi, Mbappe, and Neymar relegated to winning another ligue title, right? They're 10 points clear. But on top of that, you ready for this? Neymar, who largely looked like he was going to be leaving in some respects, he's going to be out for a while, which kind of hurts his marketability, does it not?
Facts.
When it comes to finding a transfer suitor, of which the list is small, right? To land him for full value or close to full value or whatever you want, just offload the wage bill. And on top of that, you've got probably Mbappe is the only shoe-in to stay at PSG, at least for next season. Messi, I think, him being out of the Champions League, I think Neymar likely being gone or injured and missing a good majority of the preseason in order to get back to full health. I think Messi is heading to Major League Soccer. I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later. Okay? But listen, because I'm not done with this yet. We mentioned at the beginning, right? Christophe Galtier was brought in, essentially, we know, to bring them the Champions League title. Same with Luis Campos. But at the same time, I'm going to say it very, very loud and clear. PSG needs to pivot away from their high-profile, massive wage bill transfer style. It's not going to work as it seems. If it can't work with Mbappe, Neymar, and Messi, it's not going to work with anybody. Okay? Use your economic might to build a team, a la Napoli, not a collection.
Sergio Ramos, Verratti, all these players are huge salaries too. So it's not even those three only. So it's like even everyone around them. But the biggest problem at PSG last season was midfield. Fabien Ruiz, Carlos Soler, and Vitinha didn't do the job to go further in the Champions League. And that's what a lot of PSG fans are talking about too.
And I know you don't want to criticize Verratti, but Verratti in that match versus Bayern, he was outclassed. He was beaten. Okay.
Yeah.
He was kind of a shade of himself. He was a shade he was bullied in that game. Now, that does not dismiss what Verratti has done for PSG as a whole and how consistent he's been in his entirety since moving from Pescara. But when it comes down to it, they left the Champions League with no more than a whimper. I mean, it wasn't even a whimper. They just laid down and let Bayern take it from them. And I'm going to say it right now. Bayern is my favorite until somebody proves me otherwise.
Real Madrid.
Okay?
Real Madrid.
I get it. But Sadio Mane is coming back online right now. He just got his first start. I am confident that he can play a very, very big role for them in the late stages of this. You've got guys that are, Coman. Everybody is firing on all cylinders. Bayern has now taken over the lead in the Bundesliga. They're starting to play very attractive offensive football. Their defense still needs some work. But let's be honest, De Ligt and Upamecano have been the best center back pairing that they've had in a while.
Facts.
Okay, and De Ligt has definitely taken a step forward this season. And Nagelsmann has been very, very effusive about that. So I am going to say it. I think Bayern is my Champions League favorite so far based on the sum of all parts because, Kimmich is there. Muller is there. All of these players are still there that have been there before. And Sadio Mane has been there before. And they can win this Champions League title. But last thing I have to say about PSG before we move on really quickly, because it's going to sound counter to what I've said in the past. PSG needs continuity. Galtier needs to stay. Luis Campos needs to stay.
No. Galtier, no. They won't win a Champions League with Christoph Galtier, in my opinion. I'm going to be honest.
They won't win a Champions League unless they let Galtier and Campos deliver a team. An actual team.
It will be another manager, I think. Even Thomas Tuchel, I think, would be better than Christoph Galtier. In my opinion,
bring him back.
I think for PSG to win the Champions League, I do think they have to break the core of Mbappe, Messi, and Neymar.
Yes.
I think Neymar will be out the rest of the season. Messi's not happy. I think Sergio Ramos will leave too, and a lot of the leaders will have to go. Donnarumma stay, Marquinhos stay, Kimpembe stay, Verratti stay. Mbappe will have to stay. But it's inevitable to go to Real Madrid one day. Just wanted to mention that. And Vitinha too. For me, he should stay too. And I'm going to say, no doubts in my mind. I said it when we started FC Wonderkid. But right now, I am going to put all my chips that Nuno Mendes will be the best left back in the world. I am so confident when I see him play in the Champions League. And for Portugal, he's absolutely crucial when he comes on. 20 years old, Portuguese brilliance right there. One of the best in his position. He's better than Davies, in my opinion. Fonzie, Nuno Mendes.
Oh, don't say that. You can't follow up with that. Davies is a better left back right now. Davies is a better left back right now.
Offensively, but overall, no.
But Nuno Mendes has definitely the highest ceiling out of probably any left back. Definitely. I think he does have the highest ceiling out of any left back in the world right now. He does. But he's not there yet. I agree, though, that any future at PSG needs to be built around him, essentially, right? And around some of these younger guys. I mean, Warren Zaire-Emery, the season's not going very well when Warren Zaire-Emery, who is just massive, a massive prospect, is being literally thrust into more of a playing role than anyone would have expected Galtier and Luis Campos to allow him to do. So Zaire Emery is probably going to be built around too. Do they let Verratti go in the future too? But PSG...
Lock him.
Yeah.
And it's so sad, man. We're saying that PSG had a flop season, and Mbappe at 24 has 31 goals scored. He has 7 assists. He became the all-time goal scorer for PSG history. He scores a hat-trick in a World Cup final, and this is a bad season for him. That shows the importance of the Champions League and why he should have gone to Real Madrid and get that number 7 jersey that no one has right now. It's so embarrassing that everybody sees something so obvious. But I wanted to ask you, because there's a ton of players, transfers, and in 6 months they might be out. I'm going to ask you, what leagues do you think these players should be going to? João Cancelo after Bayern Munich. Does he stay at Bayern or he ends up in another league?
Oh, based on recent reports, it doesn't seem like he's very happy to be at Bayern. That didn't take very long. Does he go to another league? I mean, Serie A would welcome him back with open arms. It's just,
I think Real Madrid should try João Cancelo. João Cancelo at Real Madrid. He would be so proud to be a Real fan, a Real player, and they need fullbacks. So I think João Cancelo Real Madrid is interesting.
Retire Dani Carvajal for
good,
for all eternity, I guess, right? That makes the most sense. But
Wilfried Zaha,
we'll
where do you think he will move?
Oh my gosh, he's gonna stay in the Prem.
Stay in the Prem. Go to Newcastle. That would be interesting. Modric.
Newcastle.
What do you think
Spurs.
about Modric?
Modric? Ooh. It seems to me like Modric, like his next move would be to head back to his like hometown club in Croatia.
Oh, Dinamo Zagreb. That would be beautiful. Modric now trusting the youth, helping the youth. And Karim Benzema. Do you believe Benzema will go to the Prem maybe?
I still think Major League Soccer is going to make a big run for him. I agree with everybody saying that he definitely got 1 or 2 seasons in the Prem maybe before he starts thinking about the jump across to Major League Soccer. But like, I have a feeling there's going to be this big economic package just thrown right in front of him, saying, "Come now, or this goes away."
Benzema economic package, I agree, but the player I think will go to the MLS in no time soon is Paul Pogba. Only 1 match played since February 28th for Juventus. It's been a flop and a liability for Juventus this season, in my opinion. So the MLS, he must be moving there in no time soon, in my opinion. Miami reports. In that documentary, he was always in Miami. So Beckham, get that done.
Yeah, there's gonna have to be some strings pulled for that to get done if Messi's coming first. But my goodness, I think there's gonna be a lot of purse string opening, which is kind of the thesis of this. Major League Soccer is going to open up the purse strings to welcome people in 3 years before the World Cup hits these shores. So Pogba, that wouldn't necessarily surprise me. It's just I'd be a little worried about. I don't know him staying healthy ever. Well, but yeah, we'll see. You don't think Pogba's got another club in him somewhere else?
I think European teams are getting a bit sick of him. Being the top teams, at least. Like Juve. See the Man United blimp and what Mourinho said about him. Ralph Rangnick said about him. A lot of managers were against him. So I think Paul Pogba might say, look, I did so much in European football. I won bold in a 28 World Cup. I can go to the Major League Soccer now. I wouldn't be surprised. And you mentioned that the Bundesliga race, Bayern Munich are on top. But I want to say Schlotterbeck. Schlotterbeck has been balling out. He goes forward sometimes as a center back. And I'm like thinking, is he a midfielder? Please pay attention to Schlotterbeck. That he is, in my opinion, a starter for the German national team in the future, Dachmannschaft. So Schlotterbeck, Florian Wirtz, Musiala, the future of Germany is in safe hands. I believe in a lot in these players. And Rafael Krud, great assist.
Yeah, but my goodness, that dropping that point.
I know.
Those points, I guess, to Schalke of all teams.
Rivalry.
Now, Schalke gave AC Milan Malik Thiaw, right? Schalke gave Juventus Weston McKennie back in the day, but Schalke since then has been basically atrocious, and Dortmund should have taken those 3 points. But yeah, Bayern's got full control. But if you're going to talk about the Bundesliga, right? If you're going to talk about the Bundesliga, and by the way, Jeremy Frimpong once again was phenomenal for Leverkusen this weekend. I think he's up to like 7 goals, 6 assists. He is just all over the place. He has the best. You ready for this? He has the best dribbling success rate in the Bundesliga compared to guys like Alphonso Davies, compared to guys like Wirtz, like Musiala, like anyone that is considered a good dribbler in the Bundesliga. It's absolutely impressive what he's been doing for Leverkusen this season. And I agree, he's going to take that step up likely to the Premier League this season. But I want to jump on over to the Eredivisie because if you want to look at Wonderkids, the Eredivisie right now has Mohamed Kudus at Ajax, who is absolutely on fire as it stands. And then you have a certain kid named Xavi Simons once again. He is up to what is it?
12 goals, 6 assists in the league. More than 20 league goal and more than 20 goal involvements in all competitions. One of the most desirable under 20 talents in the world of football right now. And a quick shout to Fabio Silva has more than 20 goal involvements too at PSV. So Fabio Silva, Xavi Simons, Johan Bakayoko, and Brathwaite center back. Pay attention to all these players at PSV. Sheesh.
Oh, and my goodness, could Everton use Branthwaite at this moment in time? Especially because Branthwaite apparently has turned into a set piece extraordinaire. He gets on the end of anything for PSV Eindhoven. But, you know, there is another person that has 20-plus goal involvements. And if you look at the scoring table, right, if you look at the goal involvement leaders or something in the Eredivisie, Cody Gakpo is still second. And he left 11-plus games ago. I don't think we really fully realized how ridiculous his start to the season for PSV was before he made that move to Liverpool.
Fact.
He had 21 goal involvements in the first 14 games. He was essentially the Eredivisie's Haaland. Okay. And it is great. I know Gakpo's got 4 goals in the Premier League right now for Jekyll and Hyde Liverpool. But it is absolutely insane to me that, PSV has replaced him. They're still in the running for a Eredivisie title. And it's good watching everywhere.
And you mentioned, I want to give a shout in the Eredivisie to one of the best players of the Eredivisie at 34-2, Dusan Tadic, okay? He has 16 assists at 34 in the Eredivisie. And for Ajax, what an impact he's had. One of the best transfers in Ajax history, maybe, for the output he's had in the Champions League and in the League too. They're title contenders, Ajax, next to Feyenoord, next to AZ Alkmaar. It's so wonderful to watch this title contention of the Eredivisie.
Johnny Heitinga, right in the ship. He's
7
Ajax
wins.
Is playing. Yeah, they're playing high octane football again. So it'll be interesting to see if they can hunt them down at the top. But I love it. I love a good Eredivisie that you have. A lot of these top clubs that we know cater to playing Wonderkids, play them through thick and thin, and they will continue to progress. And it's wonderful to see. But listen, speaking of impact, right, that you just mentioned, I have to bring up something because there's been just a wonderful pattern that's been developing. And it's that essentially all Nigerian strikers have apparently become gods in their respective leagues. Okay. And this is not something that kind of happens out of thin air. For some reason, Nigerian attacking talent is absolutely just out of this world right now. And I think most Nigerian fans are likely looking at this and saying, wouldn't it be nice if we could just field 11 strikers in our upcoming African Nations Cup qualification or our World Cup qualifiers in the future? Because Nigeria needs to get back there. But listen to this, okay? We all know what Victor Osimhen has been doing for Napoli this season. 21 goals, 5 assists, 27 games. He's in line for delivering Napoli their first Scudetto since Maradona, okay? But behind him, you've got guys like Ademola Lookman, okay, who is 14 goals, 5 assists in 27 games for Atalanta, okay? One of the best breakout stars of Serie A, considering where he was previous to that at Everton, at other RB Leipzig, never necessarily taking off. It's so insane what he's been doing for Atalanta. Then you've got Samuel Chukwueze, who is back to phenomenal form, only 23 years old, playing for Villarreal, 10 goals, 11 assists, and 25 starts. Tara Muffy, 23 years old, plays for Nice, just made a whole high-profile move from Lorient to Nice. He's got 15 goals in 24 starts for Lorient. And then you've got these 2 new guys that everybody is going to be fighting for. And when you talk about looking for a striker, like Chelsea signing David Datro Fofana or something like that, looking for a striker for the future, look no further than Victor Boniface, who plays for Saint-Gilloise, was playing in the Europa League. He's got 14 goals and 32 starts for Saint-Gilloise. And then you have to look at this guy aptly named Gift Orban, 20 years old. Gift Emmanuel Orban, okay? He's got 9 goals in his first 7 starts for Ghent, in where Jonathan David got his upbringing, right? Where he got his start, right? In the Pro League in Belgium, 9 goals in his first 7 starts. And today he had a poker in 30 minutes, or this weekend, I should say. He had a poker in 30 minutes, 4 goals in 30 minutes. And these guys are all of Nigerian descent. It's a wonderful thing, but they're all 25 and younger. When is Nigeria going to turn into the African powerhouse that we all remember back in the day?
So Nigeria's under 25 talents have Victor Osimhen, you mentioned, and who's the list?
Victor Osimhen. We've got Ademola Lookman, Samuel Chukwueze, Tara Moffi, Gift Emmanuel Orban, and you've got Victor Boniface. And those two at the end there, Boniface is 22 and Orban is 20. And these are the two you're going to look at. I doubt they're going to be staying in the Pro League.
Bargains in the future. Any top team, remember these two names Breton is telling them. I love these two shouts for our listeners. And if you're listening until now, do not forget to like this episode 96. Drop a follow on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, Instagram, TikTok. Please go bold, community. And again, thank you so much for listening to episode 96. Until now, community. Thank you for going bold.